Hello there folks, welcome back to my YouTube channel, a place where I discuss different topics about spirituality, introspection, dream interpretation at times, game analysis, and different other topics that, well, I like, I really like talking about and sharing some of the wisdom I have accumulated. And well, as I said, one of my life purposes, so to speak, would be to make sure that none of my wisdom remains unshared. Even if that would happen, also making sure that I live my life to the fullest possible with its ups and downs because, well, I don't want to live only in the downs or only in the ups. Now, whatever I provide as wisdom, do note that it belongs to my own truths, experiences, and whatever I have come across in my life. So do take whatever I say with a grain of salt. Now, one question that I was asked today by someone on a Discord group was how to make sure that our ancestors are proud of ourselves. And I can say I was really surprised. I mean, I didn't expect this question necessarily, but it was actually a well asked question. Like, not many people would ask you about, their ancestors, okay? Not because they wouldn't care that much, but, well, the point is, we kind of have a lot of things to focus and worry about in our lives, and the ancestors may actually end up as the last thing we would think of. Woo! Now that I got hydrated, things are a bit better. Okay, so the point about our ancestors is, well, the way I'm gonna share some things may be somewhat different to what people may expect, but talking to some persons, and especially that person, I was met with the idea that some people kind of don't believe in something called ancestors. Now, of course, some people might actually call this heresy, but let's not move into the Warhammer 40k section. So the point is, even if you care or you don't care about your ancestors, even if you believe in them or you don't believe in them, the ancestors actually still exist. This might be somewhat surprising or funny to some, but you have to understand that our body has a huge amount of memory that it exists by. Okay, it's called, let's call it evolutionary memory, because technically what you are is nothing else than the culmination or the amalgamation of DNAs that have been put together and have combined together to create basically your ancestors and the whole line that led to your birth. Because in order for you to be born, okay, there have been numerous generations before. Now, this might sound like a quirky question, like how long before you do you consider your ancestry to start? Some people might consider ancestors, the people who lived 2000 years ago. Some people might consider ancestors, starting like several generations before them. Okay, so this is another different question that may have variable answers depending on the individuals. But the point about ancestors and ancestry is that ancestors will still exist through you. Okay, technically no one really ever dies, right? And that's actually the acronym for the word nerd. Okay, no one ever really dies, which is a funny thing. Probably I should do a subtle English video on this. Now, the point about ancestors is that you may not necessarily know how your ancestors look, but your body kind of still remembers because you have evolutionary memory. All the DNA that they have given, like when they perpetrated our species, right? All that DNA is still stored in your body. Technically, each and every cell that we have, the DNA kind of has the whole history of this planet. If not, I can say even more than that. Uh, it has even the whole history of the universe, and I'm not saying this because I secretly want humans to sound more awesome than they would be. Humans are actually awesome. It's just because so many people hate their lives that they end up believing that humans are not, and humans are bad, and humans are evil, and so on and so forth. But the point about this is, there is something that can be called, in a way, inner development, or, well, actually, development wouldn't be the best word because development means starting from scratch, but we can also call inner evolution or inner engineering, maybe. I think engineering would sound a bit better. The reason why I'm saying this is because, everyone has the same capability when it comes to our internal part, okay, our internum, as I call it. Now, people might say, but Buddha is Buddha, and, well, Buddha is not the name, is a title. His name was Gautama. And some people might say, and Christ was Christ, and Shiva was Shiva, right? And due to low self-esteem, people will probably consider that those people have been someone, and they are someone else, and just because of that they simply won't ever reach that level. Now, I do have two questions for this, okay? I have two questions to counter this, okay? First of all, no one said you should become like Gautama or Christ or Shiva, okay? They each had their own purpose, okay? But the question is, what do you think their purpose really was? Now, first of all, from a, well, considering the way they have expanded, I might actually sound like limiting them a bit by calling them personal, but to a certain extent, from a personal standpoint, they came to this world to experience at least a part of life, if not the whole life, as Shiva did, right? And do that in a very profound way, right? That's why they became famous. Now, the second question would be, why do you think, before you have an awakening, right, before you have that break point that propels you further, why do you think that your life suddenly looks more and more like shit, and everyone seems to be, receiving literally everything? They have the abundance and the ideas that they wanted, and it always seems like, everyone gets what they want, and you just suck, and, nothing ever seems to work for you. The point about this is exactly the same point why Gautama and the others actually reached their enlightenment. Their purpose here was to show you that everyone can actually do that. Now, of course, not everyone will actually end up as a Shiva, not actually end up as the next Gautama Buddha or, Christ consciousness and as such, but it doesn't mean that one simply cannot do at least the simple amount of work, right? Nowadays, there are people who can literally help you do that. Back in those times, those people had to take, that initiative by themselves, while also facing a lot of societal resistance, right? In order to reach such a high level of awareness, imagine that the amount of people that would oppose them or would call them mad would also, or could also, be great, right? Like, think about Jesus Christ's times, right? He was really severed when he came, okay? The difference in between him and the Eastern heroes, okay, or people who became enlightened, was that in the Eastern part, these things were kind of promoted, and they actually promoted these things, even if they kind of ended up speaking to very few people. But at the same time, the point is, Christ ended up in a part of the world where whatever he would say would actually lead to his own death. Now, whatever the reason of his death was, and the Bible says that he died for our redemption, it may be true, it may not be true. It's not my purpose to say yes or no, or blindly follow things that I haven't lived and I haven't yet experienced. The point is, it is a point of view, okay, and I don't have any proof to, personal proof to support it, nor do I have any personal proof to dismiss it. Okay, so let's see, my game finished loading, and of course I will be met with this. Let's actually close these two. So the point about this is, well, you know what, I really don't care what you say. I'm gonna unplug you anyways. Okay, let me actually transfer my game on my laptop. So the point about these people is they wanted to show you that everything is possible. Sure, you might not actually end up as the next Gautama Buddha or the next Christ, but you have to understand they also had gone through a lot of negativity and the such. Now, of course, you're also gonna go through some negativity as well, but that's part of the breaking points, because the moment when you break is actually when your personas die. So when your personas die, you finally have realization that that persona was actually so useless, right? And the fears and everything we had is nothing else than those personas sees fears, and you were just propagating those because you weren't guided by anyone. And nowadays you actually have people, not too many, yes, but there are people who can actually guide you, specifically in India and well other countries, why not, but especially in India and some of the eastern countries that still place some accent on these things. The point about this is very simple. Okay, um, instead of actually reinventing the wheel, we can always ask for some of these people's help. Okay, it's always much easier to understand things if someone else explains them to you, and it's always easier to simply feel things or experience certain things if especially someone is actually helping you. So back to our ancestors, do you think now that ancestors aren't actually following you? Now let me actually tell you from my own perspective. Now, from my own experience, I've actually had metaphysical experiences of other beings. uh, I've been actually communicated in dreams. I've had several dreams. I remember two of them vividly, but well, having them, not exactly what happened through those, because I kind of forgot what those were. One of them was about the star Betelgeuse, and it was so realistic. And I remember the beginning, and slowly moving closer to the star while a voice would present me things about that star, and also another one about black holes to which I feel deeply connected, and I kind of feel them as being some kind of spirit guides. And the dream again started with this is a black hole, and I got closer to it, and I actually got inside of it without actually being sucked into it. I just simply got inside one, and I remember moving through some kind of a wormhole, but seeing me from a side as if it were suddenly a top down game. And that's when everything like broke. Most likely the information I was shared was somewhat beyond my mind. So if something is beyond your mind will simply not perceive it, and most likely you will forget it once you wake up. So all these experiences, and I've seen angels, I've seen beings around me, I've been attacked at least once by the dark predator of the psyche, or the black man, how people call it, that bidimensional being. At least to me it was a bidimensional being. The legends say that this was a test for women. I never heard about men, but the legend says that certain women would become, like fully fledged women, like mature women, once they would learn how to defeat this, insidious being that would prey on them. Why that one would prey on them is, well, again, from a spiritual standpoint, and again, this is a pure interpretation of mine, the reason why such attacks would occur would be to attempt to assassinate the persona that you are. So it's not necessarily gonna be something bad. Nothing in this universe will happen without its permission. So, well, again, this is something that I heard. It's not something I have received confirmation from my voices. So again, I won't actually focus on believing anything. Okay. Also, feel free to accept whatever you feel pointed towards, since I'd rather bring out ideas and wisdom that people already have, because we kind of already have all this wisdom about the universe. It's just that we just need to activate it. That's why many people have that sensation of a deja vu. Now, the point about the ancestors is they're not gonna be judgmental of you. Imagine that, as I gave an answer to the person, okay, I told them that, hey, you know what? All these ancestral ancestors watching us, okay, now I didn't tell specifically this, but many people have this fear of being watched, okay, because your parents may be dumb enough to not know what intimacy is, and most likely they will scrutinize you, and also they will drown you in this stupidity that there is this white bearded fucker who has nothing else to do other than simply peek into your life and whatever you're doing, making a list of everything that you're doing so that they can, like severely punish you after a certain time. So the point about this is, um, it's not something like that, okay? I never believed, and this kind of ideas kind of never clicked with me. Like for a while, I kind of believed in this God, but I've always been the kind of person who bombarded the universe with, like hundreds of questions, thousands of questions throughout my life, and I was always the kind of person to ask, hey, you know what? Why is this like this? Why is it like that? What's the point of life? What's the purpose of life? Why am I here? And after many years, you'll probably have a shock when you find out that actually life doesn't have a purpose. And well, the purpose is simply that you invent with your mind. The only reason life is because you have to be, and that's technically it. Many people are human doings instead of human beings because many people are now, you know, trying to be humans. Okay, they are doing humanity instead of being humanity. That's kind of a big problem, and worse than that, there are even fake gurus who, they kind of, you know, advocate for all this. Okay, they kind of teach people how to be. It's like, dude, you don't teach people necessarily how to be. You are teaching people how to do certain things. Like you're teaching people how to meditate. There is no such thing as teaching people how to meditate. You just make peace with your thoughts, and you just disregard your thoughts. There is no such thing as teaching people that. When people are ready to do that, they will simply do it. It's just natural. It's just like when a child starts breathing, right? When they are ready, they will breathe. When they are born and brought into this world, they will start breathing. Okay, there is a coding that allows all of these things to actually manifest, right? And this coding is not hard to understand. Of course, if you really want to invest a lot of mental resources into it, well, that's gonna be kind of a little problem because a lot of things are gonna be beyond your mind. Now, are ancestors real? Are they not real? Are they watching us? Don't they have anything else to do? Well, most likely they have other things to do. Probably they're experiencing life. Most likely they've been experiencing life or hundreds of lives. Every person can experience even several hundred lives at the same time. And you feel free to view some of my previous videos, especially the ones on how to be a fully fledged gamer, and I have a few videos on that. And the one about gaming is also about how to be a fully fledged gamer also in this real life, which is kind of like a video game. It also has a save game, but it's reserved for people that have a great knowledge of the occult. And I'm not speaking occult with a negative connotation, but let's leave that for another video. If you ever have questions about whatever I say, feel free to ask them in the question, in the comment sections, and I might follow with a video on that when I feel ready, because I do prefer taking my time when it comes to, things, when it comes to creating videos, because I just want to share whatever I feel it would serve certain people. And I also want to give things in such a way that it sparks some curiosity in people instead of giving them a flat answer that, well, many may not be ready for and they might even take for granted. So it'll kind of end up in a waste of time for both. But again, some people may still benefit. Now, the point about life is you just have to handle your own existence, okay? Many people simply can't handle their existence, they can't handle their mind, they can't handle their emotions, especially because there is no one to train us to do that. Again, this is not something that others should train you to do. It's just that you should actually learn how to do it by your own self, right? Like uh, the least amount of self-service you could do is to ensure yourself a happy life. Sure, there's a lot of work to do, but do something now that your future self will be thankful for, right? So the point about ancestors is you shouldn't worry that much about them, okay? Do remember that you are in here, okay? Now, every time you go to bed, you're technically dying, and you're waking up the moment you, well, wake up, right? You're like reborn, okay? Your body again is not the same. Some cells have died, some cells have been born, most likely you have lost some hair bits, other hair bits are starting to grow. So not even your body is fully the same, right? So there's always this change. Now when you go to sleep and you fall asleep and you dream, those could actually be glimpses from your other lives. And don't worry if you have dreams in which you're killing stuff, or you're some kind of psycho, or you're some kind of angel. uh, Parallel lives can be like even hundreds of parallel ones, and you might be whatever in there. And in some videos I even present video games as a means of exploring other universes, because technically those are kind of, like a different universe, and they function by the same principle. You need a body to experience those. In order to experience a certain dimension, you need a compatible body, just like you can't experience a game without that avatar, and you can't experience real life without a body, like for example that one that you're having, right? So to learn from this to be a bit more appreciative towards your own body. Now, to go even further, okay, the point about this is very simple. Um, you have to understand this, okay? You have to understand that, oh, okay, copying is complete. So let's actually see if everything's working. So you have to understand that your ancestors only want what's the better for you. Being in a place where, they are they are higher vibrational than us. The point is, whatever they are doing, or I can't say expecting, but whatever they would want from us is to experience the greatest life that we can have, okay? Even in those times, right, people had a lot of freedom, but again, many people weren't that capable of understanding that, okay, to the furthest extent possible. Now, the point about that is, if I were your ancestor, okay, now, honestly speaking, the few things that I would want you to experience and, manifest in your life is most likely cleanse anything that you and I have been doing in our previous lives. Like, you probably have been experiencing some of those sudden fears, like you're not married but you suddenly have this fear that your spouse will leave you, but hey, I'm not married, right? Many of these illogical fears, right? These can be actually popping up at the right moment, because that moment is your vibration reached a certain point in which you are simply capable of relinquishing those. And if you pose resistance towards that, they will be relinquished sooner or later, because everyone came here to participate in the purging of bad memories and bad karma that we have. Well, karma and memory is kind of the same thing. It's actually the same thing. And cleanse the ancestral karmic debt, okay, the debt that we have been gaining through our deeds and misdeeds as well, okay? Because the point is, every race has to accumulate some sort of karma, because by the time they grow they will have accumulated some. And of course it is much less, because lower awareness won't draw too much karma. But again, this is something interpretable, so I'm not gonna present this as a generalized truth either. Don't forget, we are all here to experience our own truths. So so long as people haven't experienced a certain thing, it would be better not to present your own points, because they may not be ready for that. So they might laugh in your face and you might get angry, and it's gonna be kind of a waste of time. That is why I prefer platforms like YouTube and others. And people can simply pick whatever they want and listen to that. If they resonate, it's okay. If they don't resonate, again, it's okay. So if I were your ancestor, what I would want you is to, be successful in life. Okay, be much better than you were back then when we were alive, right? In your previous lives, continue what you were doing in previous lives, and become even better and better, right? And have such an awesome life you wouldn't even have to think about me, right? So the point about ancestors, okay, is that some of them or all of them may actually support you. They consider them like, like the fans that are watching at a professional video game championship, right? You are the professional, and whatever you're doing, they will be simply delighted, because they have also experienced life. Most likely you also have experienced life, and well, considering the conscious mind is easily distracted by a lot of things, you may not necessarily remember how harsh life can really be, because most likely you have dozens of previous lives. Let's call them previous lives, but there is no such thing as time. But for many people's awareness, let's just call them previous lives experiences, of misfortunes and happiness and whatever the such. So the point about this is they already know the hardships of life, and if you're experiencing hardships, they also have a certain purpose. And why would you think they are actually, judging you? Okay, some of them might, I don't know, like, I simply can't care. Okay, um, when I was, in some of my lower moments, I would, like, just scream. Well, rarely scream, but I would just tell the universe, what, I simply don't want any more of your guidance, at least for a while. And if you want things done, why don't you just come here and do it, do them yourself, right? So I would simply try to disconnect myself, but disconnection is not possible, right? They simply have a contract with you, and whatever happens, they also experience literally everything you experience. But you know this is something that will baffle the mind. Theoretically, there is a distance in between you and them. Practically, there is no distance, okay? But there is something, okay, that allows them to experience exactly what you're experiencing, but at the same time allows them to be detached, okay? They are technically just like, the supporters of your life, right? They suffer with you when you suffer. They are happy alongside you when you're happy, when you're grinchy, when you're goofing around, when you're doing things that make you feel proud, right? Every emotion that you feel is something that makes them feel great. And when you suffer, they also suffer, but at the same time, they are capable of remaining distant so that they can provide the best wisdom possible. Now, of course, wisdom and support in my case come from literally all the ways possible. And yes, it might sound strange, but I can find help in literally so many things, like the repetitive angel numbers. I have even been guided towards several people who do tarot readings, and I said, okay, let's actually see what these tarot readings would be. And I'm not a tarot passionate, although I think I might actually try that. Only did that once, and I'm surprised. I picked up a card at random, and when I looked at it and read its significance, I was like, man, like, I almost slapped my face in disbelief. Like, man, that was, when I read the description of that card, it was, man, like, I really needed that. And those few persons that do tarot readings, right, it's like they have pick a cards, right, and each video they show 3, 4, or 5 piles of cards, and they also show a crystal. When they show the crystal, or even by the picture of the piles, I almost instantly feel drawn to at least one, in rare cases more, because there may be more messages. And whatever that guidance says is like exactly that which I would need too. Now again, this might be me playing, some tricks, but it's like once I felt so down, and that person told me, hey, you need to be more relaxed. You need to stop working so much for your own projects and such. And I was like, dude, like that was it couldn't be more accurate than that. And of course, it's not just this. Okay, like usually these have like 20 minutes, 30 minutes, probably even more per pile. So you can imagine a lot of information being shared. And again, I was like astounded, and I keep listening to some of these. And again, when you listen to tarot readings, irrespective of which may be, you'll have to realize that you won't necessarily vibrate with each and every part, okay? But there is a fluctuation within me that tells me, okay, this is correct, or this applies to me, this does not. So you have to understand each and every one has to become aware of their own guidance. So, well, without further ado, I think I've kind of spoken enough about ancestors, although I've also been speaking around the topic as well. I want my videos to be more like free speech instead of, delivering information only on the topic and that's it, okay? I want people to feel a bit immersed, feel like I'm actually talking to them. Still, I'm improving, yes, but, I want people to feel, like ready to ask me certain questions and, feel free to know that the universe will guide them towards their answer, be it a video I create or who knows, maybe someone else will create a video. But all this being said, hopefully you like the type of content that I'm creating. Feel free to like and subscribe if you do. Feel free to click that notification bell to see more of my uploads. And all this being considered, feel free to ask me questions in the comment section below. Feel free to provide me feedback. And all this being said, you are loved and appreciated. Take care of yourself and the others. Become more introspective, and you will see that the truths that you will be you have been looking for, they are actually inside of you and they're hardly waiting to be uncovered. All this being said, you are loved and appreciated. Take care, stay awesome, keep shining your light, and Ferenjan Board signing out.